The apartment is modest, filled with a mix of old and new furniture that speaks of a life that's been patched together over time. Tommy, early 30s with weary eyes, but a kind face, sits on the worn-out couch, his eyes tracing the edges of a framed photo of Sophia, his late wife. Her gentle smile seems to still light up the room. He sighs deeply, holding back the weight of the past year. The loss of Sophia had hit him like a wrecking ball, shattering everything he knew about happiness, and every day since had felt like an uphill climb. Tommy glances at his daughter Sarah, 8 years old, small for her age, with wide, searching eyes. She sits cross-legged on the floor, cradling a stuffed bunny in her lap. Her eyes are distant, watching a cartoon on the TV, but she isn't really paying attention. Her face is a mask of worry, the kind no child should wear. He wonders, not for the first time, if he's doing enough, if he's making the right decisions for her. "Hey, kiddo, you feeling okay?" Tommy asks gently. Sarah doesn't respond at first, just hugs her bunny tighter. After a beat, she looks up, her eyes meeting Tommy's. He notices the slight hesitation in her movements, the way she seems to carefully choose her words, and it makes his heart twist. "Dad, can we talk?" she says. The vulnerability in her voice pulls Tommy upright. He moves to sit on the floor beside her, his concern deepening. He turns down the volume of the TV with the remote, shifting his full attention to her. He knows that look on her face. He's seen it too many times this past year. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Sarah hesitates, looking down at the bunny, her fingers nervously playing with its floppy ears. Her voice is barely a whisper, as if afraid of the words she is about to say. "It's about Maria." Tommy's heart sinks. Maria, or Anne as she's asked to be called, is his new girlfriend. They'd been dating for almost 8 months, but only recently has she been spending more time around the apartment, trying to get closer to Sarah. Tommy's tried to make the transition easier, but it's been a struggle. He knows Sarah misses her mom. He does too. It's hard to think about moving on when Sophia's memory lingers in every corner of their home. "What about Anne, honey?" Tommy asks softly, keeping his voice steady even though a small sense of dread begins to build inside him. Sarah's eyes dart around the room, as if checking to make sure they're really alone. Her voice is small, scared. She's not nice when you're not here." Tommy blinks, his expression faltering. He forces a smile, trying to be reassuring. The thought seems so foreign. Anne has always been kind when he's around. "What do you mean, Sarah? Did she say something to upset you?" Sarah nods, her bottom lip quivering. The vulnerability in her eyes hits Tommy like a punch to the gut. "She says bad things about Mommy. She tells me I have to forget about her. And sometimes." Sarah stops, swallowing hard. Her small hands grip the bunny tighter, and her eyes well up with tears. Tommy's face darkens, his mind racing as he tries to keep his voice calm. "Sometimes what, sweetheart? Sometimes she scares me, Daddy. She's different when you're gone. She looks at me like she's mad, and she grabs my arm really tight." Tommy's heart pounds in his chest, a mixture of shock, disbelief, and anger bubbling inside him. He reaches for Sarah's arm instinctively, gently rolling up her sleeve. There on her pale skin is a faint bruise, small but unmistakable. The sight of it twists his stomach, his mind reeling at the thought of someone hurting his little girl. Tommy's face tightens, a rush of emotion almost choking him. He pulls Sarah into a hug, his voice barely above a whisper. He feels her small body trembling against his, and he closes his eyes, feeling the weight of his failure to protect her. "I'm so sorry, baby. I didn't know." Sarah clings to him, her small body trembling slightly. Tommy closes his eyes tighter, trying to hold back the tears threatening to spill. The pain and guilt feel overwhelming, like he's failed the one person who needs him most. He pulls back, looking into her eyes, forcing a smile, though his own heart feels heavy. "Listen, I'm here now. I'll keep you safe, I promise. No one will ever hurt you again." Sarah nods, her eyes still fearful but softened by her father's presence. Tommy runs a hand over her hair, then tries to bring a bit of lightness back to their somber moment. He knows they need a break from the tension that's been sitting between them. How about we do something fun tonight, huh? What do you think about pizza for dinner? Sarah's eyes widen slightly, the corner of her lips lifting for the first time in a while. She looks up at Tommy, her eyes hopeful, searching his face. Can we get extra cheese? Tommy chuckles, nodding. You bet. Extra cheese it is. For a moment, there's a glimmer of normalcy. Sarah leans into Tommy, and he holds her, relishing the small victory of seeing her smile. But as he glances at the photo of Sophia on the mantel, a shadow passes over his face. He knows it isn't enough just to put a Band-Aid on this. He needs to get to the root of the problem, and he needs to do it soon. Tommy is in the kitchen, his phone pressed to his ear as he waits for the pizza delivery. He paces back and forth, his mind unable to let go of Sarah's words. He hears the voicemail beep and leaves a message for his best friend, Jason. Hey Jason, it's me. Listen, I need to talk. Something's going on with Sarah and Anne. I think I might need your help. Call me back when you can. He ends the call, setting the phone down on the counter with a heavy sigh. Tommy looks out into the living room, where Sarah is curled up on the couch, her bunny hugged tightly in her arms. She's watching the TV, but her eyes still seem distant, as if she's lost in a world of her own fears. He wishes he could just wave a magic wand and make everything right for her again. The doorbell rings, making Tommy jump. He forces a smile and calls out, "Pizza's here." Sarah perks up, a small smile breaking across her face as she scrambles off the couch. Tommy opens the door to reveal the delivery guy. He pays for the pizza, forcing a smile as he takes the boxes. "All right, extra cheese, just like we planned," he says to Sarah, trying to sound upbeat. Sarah takes the box eagerly, heading to the dining table. Tommy watches her, his heart aching. He needs to find out more. He needs to protect her. But how? The problem feels so much bigger than him, and he's not sure where to even start. It's a helplessness he hates. Tommy tucks Sarah into bed, her stuffed bunny by her side. He sits on the edge of the bed, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. He smiles softly, trying to convey strength. "You know I love you, right?" Sarah nods, her eyes sleepy but filled with trust. She reaches up and takes his hand, her fingers barely wrapping around his. "I love you too, Daddy." Tommy leans down, pressing a kiss to her forehead. He lingers for a moment, his eyes closing as he whispers, "I'll keep you safe. No one's going to hurt you, I promise." Sarah nods again, her eyes slowly closing as she drifts off to sleep. Tommy stands, watching her for a long moment before he quietly steps out of the room, leaving the door slightly ajar. He stays there for a moment longer, staring at her small form under the blanket, a knot of emotions forming in his chest. Tommy sits on the couch, his face lit by the soft glow of the lamp. His phone buzzes, and he quickly picks it up, seeing Jason's name on the screen. He answers, his voice hushed. "Jason, hey. Thanks for calling back." "Tommy, what's going on? You sounded pretty shaken up," Jason says, concern evident in his voice. Tommy takes a deep breath, running a hand through his hair as he tries to find the words. He glances over at the kitchen, where the pizza boxes still sit on the counter, a stark reminder of the fragile attempt at normalcy they tried to create tonight. "It's Anne, or Maria, whatever. I don't know, man." Sarah, she's scared of her. She said Maria's been hurting her, saying things about Sophia. I don't know what to do." There's a pause on the other end of the line, and Tommy hears Jason let out a low whistle, the concern now etched even deeper into his voice. "That's serious, Tommy. You can't just let that slide. You need to get her out of there. At least until you figure out what's really going on." Tommy nods, though Jason can't see it. His eyes drift to the framed photo of Sophia once again, the weight of the past year pressing down on him. He'd wanted to give Sarah someone else to care for her, to fill the gap that Sophia left. But it was clear now that it had been too much too soon. "Yeah, you're right. I wanted to believe that things could be normal again, you know. That I could move on, that Sarah could have someone else to care for her. But I can't ignore this. You're doing the right thing, man. Protect Sarah first, always. We can figure out the rest later, Jason says, his voice full of support. Tommy takes a deep breath, his eyes welling with tears he refuses to let fall. He blinks them back, his voice steady. He knows he has to be strong for Sarah. There's no other option. Yeah, thanks, Jason. I'll call you tomorrow. Anytime, Tommy. Hang in there. Tommy ends the call, setting the phone down beside him. He leans back into the couch, staring at the ceiling as he takes a long, deep breath. The apartment is silent, the only sound the distant hum of traffic outside. He feels the emptiness of the apartment weigh on him. Without Sophia, it just doesn't feel like home. He knows what he has to do. Tomorrow, he'll talk to Anne. He'll get to the bottom of this. And if anything's off, he'll make sure Sarah is safe. Whatever it takes. He can't let fear paralyze him anymore. Tommy stands, heading towards Sarah's room to check on her one more time. He pauses at her door, watching her small figure curled up under the blankets, her bunny beside her. The innocence of her sleeping form stabs at his heart, reminding him of how fragile she really is. His heart clenches. He couldn't protect Sophia, but he'll be damned if he'll let anything happen to Sarah. His little girl deserved a safe and happy childhood, and he would do anything to give that to her. With one last glance at his sleeping daughter, Tommy turns, determination etched across his face. He closes the door softly behind him, the promise of tomorrow hanging in the silence.